Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to March of the Living Dead, where we are taking a look at Return of the Living Dead 3. And I had a big interest in this from the get go when I found out that it's actually directed by that old son of a bitch, Brian Usna. Yes, if you don't know, he has a connection to one of my favorite, not my favorite horror director, Stuart Gordon. He also directed some films that I like very much, including the Dentist movies, which I prefer the first one over the second one, but the second one's not that bad. Silent Night, Dead of Night 4, which is a weird and wacky, fucked up movie that has little to do with the Silent Night, Dead of Night movies as a whole. He did the Reanimator sequels, uh, excuse me, Bride Reanimator and From and Beyond Reanimator, and of course my personal favorite, Society. He also produced Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5 and several of Stuart Gordon's films, including Reanimator, From Beyond, and Dolls. So, yeah, I'm invested. I'm interested. I was interested in this. And this movie is very different from the first one. First two. It is very serious. I mean, there's a little bit of humor in this, but it is very serious in tone. And unlike the other two, it's a love story. Yes, we had the boyfriend girlfriend angle in the first two movies, but they weren't as prominent as this. It's the main plot line in this is the boyfriend girlfriend romance. It goes in a direction you wouldn't want it to go, and yes. So the story here is that Kurt and his girlfriend Julie sneak into a military base, which is his father's military base, where they're doing experiments on the reanimated zombies using the trioxin, trying to weaponize them. We'll get into comparisons in a minute. But when his girlfriend accidentally dies in a motorcycle accident, he sneaks her back into the military base, and hits her with the trioxin, turning her into a zombie. So, yeah, okay. So, the comparisons. So, I feel like the first three of these movies are very similar. The first three George Romero of the Dead movies. The first film, isolated, very little sets. You had maybe two sets in Night of the Living Dead. You had the graveyard, you had the house, and there was a few like outside set pieces that you had. In Return of the Living Dead, the first one, you had a little bit more involved, but it was mostly indoor stuff. Like you had the general's house, which in the theatrical version wasn't there, but and then you had the cemetery, you had uh, the warehouse, and you had the mortuary. But they were all within the same area, so it was very close knit, and they didn't really go anywhere beyond that. When they tried to, zombies attacked, right? Second one, Dawn of the Dead. A little more out there. There is still that like one big area where they, the mall, but it's very much more open world than one small little place. You know what I mean? But, and that day of and then in Return of the Living Dead Part 2, there's more open world stuff. There's a lot more in that than there is in Dawn of the Dead, but you get what I mean. They open the world a little bit more. You can also compare it to the Purge Anarchy. They went out and they showed us more of the world of the zombies. And then in here you have that military aspect. In Day of the Dead in Part 3 here, you have the military aspect. Although the military is way more involved in Day of the Dead than it is here, but there is that little bit of a connection. And I don't even know if it was, meant to be. It's like all three of these movies are worked on by different people. They have some kind of connection to the other franchise, I guess. Yeah, so right away, we see Kurt and his girlfriend So Kurt is our main character, and his dad is a military officer, colonel, I think, and so he steals his key card and sneaks himself and his girlfriend in to see this, and they're doing an experiment on um, on this zombie. They have in there, and it's just me, or does this zombie look kind of like Tom Matthews? Were they trying to imply this was Tom Matthews zombie, like, or another Tom Matthews character? This is what it feels like. He looks like a Tom Matthews, the hair and everything. I don't know. They reanimate him and they use this stuff they can neutralize. It's like a little arrow, like a cold thing. It neutralizes, paralyzes the zombie, but it doesn't last. They want to use it, weaponize it when they put it. They say it's like an exosuit, but when they show it later in the movie, it's like the most rinky-dink little chain thing. It's not even that big of an exosuit. It's like Tony Stark would laugh at this thing. That's absolutely terrible. It's not even. No. He would do the gif where he goes, because that's just. He'd be like, so that's your plan? That's what you want to use? Not a great plan. That's what he'd say. He said, not a great plan. But yeah, they don't look very good. But here, it wakes up again and attacks one of the physician guys, one of the scientists, and then they shoot it again. But then the scientist becomes infected, and you think they would realize that's going to happen. And I will say that this relies on the zombie tropes more than the first two. The whole biting leads to being infected. There's no big trioxin gas thing, acid rain in this. It's just someone's infected, they bite someone else, they become infected. So there's not really... There is trioxin spraying towards the end, but it's not like... It's not a whole big deal like the first two. So, yeah. It's a bit different. And that, I think that Brian Uslan was taking this more seriously than the other two directors from the first one, which is fine, So, Kurt and Julie are spying on this. They see it happen, and they just go home and they fuck. Yeah, because it cuts to them having sex in Kurt's bed. And it's the sex where you don't want to show nudity, so they're very close together. And I'm like, oh, it's one of those things that I want to show nudity, so they're going to close together. This is followed by Julie's tits. Yeah, we just see Melinda Clarke there with her tits out, and it's like, wait, if you did that, then obviously maybe they just didn't have a good sex scene to do. I don't know, but they're like very close to that close, the whole, I'm not going to say it in a moment, but the whole close sex you see in some movies, and it's like, when they don't want to show nudity, so they do that, and then it cuts to them covered, and they are covered, and then when Kurt gets up, her tits are out, and it's like, okay, you just didn't have a good sex scene to film. Okay, I get it. And I want to point out here that here she doesn't have nipple rings, but later when she's all zombified and everything, and she's sticking stuff in her, she's got nipple rings, and it's like, okay, but she's sticking random objects in her arms and stuff so that when she feels pain, she won't feel the hunger. Where did she find nipple rings? I'm just saying, it gets to that, So, Kurt's dad comes home and is still oblivious to the fact that his son has his car, but have you found my car yet? No. Could have swore it was here. Why? He's a dumbass. He hadn't figured it out. I don't know. But, he tells Kurt they're being, he's being reassigned to Oklahoma, I think it was. And so they're going to have to move. But of course, Kurt doesn't want to move because he's in love. And he tells his dad he's not going to do it. They get an argument. and he and Julie take off on his motorcycle. Then we get probably the dumbest part of this movie. So I get we need a sense of emergency for Kurt to want to bring his girlfriend back. Now, a part of me feels like you could have cut the middleman on this and just have them bump into a canister, have it get separated. She bumps into a canister of the trioxin and inhales the thing, and she goes through the change throughout the movie, and she has to deal with the hunger, stuff like that. But no, that's not what happens. Instead, they're driving down the road on a motorcycle with no fucking helmets, I might add. And that's dangerous. I had a very good friend of mine. Grew up with her. My grandma babysat her, and she died on a scooter, which is very similar to a motorcycle, and she didn't wear a fucking helmet, and she died in an accident because of it. Wear a fucking helmet, okay? I don't care if this is a movie. You wear a helmet, all right? Ride a motorcycle or a motor scooter, you wear a helmet. Helmets can save lives. I'm just saying. So yeah, they crash because she's grabbing his dick. And she goes down, and he's like, oh, whoa, and it flips, and he falls off, and she goes smack into a tentpole like that little girl from Hereditary, only her head doesn't go flying off. She just goes right into it, and she's dead, and he's not, and then he crawls over, he limps over, and that limp goes away pretty fast, I should say, and then he finds the card, and so he takes her there, and he gashes her with the trioxin, and she's brought back, and they're able to escape, but they are found out, of course, and so they go to this convenience store where they see this Chinese man that I've seen in other movies or TV shows, but I can't really pinpoint where he's from. I looked it up, I couldn't find him. And she's hungry. She's like eating a bunch of stuff. We all know what's gonna satisfy her, but you know. This Mexican gang shows up, and I don't know if this is racist, but it's very stereotypical because you have this guy going, "Hey, ese, what's the problem, ese?" Like after every sentence he says that, and it's like, did whoever wrote this, Brian Usna, did he not know how Mexicans talk? They don't say essay after every sentence. Did he watch an Eddie Guerrero promo and think, no, this was 1993. Eddie Guerrero didn't do promos yet. That's right. Never mind. Did this inspire? Did Eddie Guerrero in 1993 see this movie? Go, you know, that's pretty good, Holmes. I think I'll talk like that, essay. I don't know, and I apologize for all Mexicans for my impression, but you know, yeah. So, the Mexican gang tries to assault them, but she ends up biting one of the guys named Mogo. That's not a name, and they get away, but you know she's grabbing. They get away in a van with the store owner, and the store owner gets shot by the cops when he's trying to say, "Don't shoot!" He gets shot, and she takes the advantage to eat him. It is before that she discovers that when she causes herself pain, then she won't feel the hunger. Problem. Plot hole. It's established that the zombies always feel pain, and that's why they need to eat the brains, so they don't feel pain. So by causing themselves pain, it should only make them hungrier for brains, not take away the hunger. Did Brian Usna not watch the first two films? They eat the brains to stop the pain. You can then cause pain, and it takes away the hunger for brains. That makes no fucking sense. But she eats his brain, and then eats his brain, and they run off. And it's weird. It's played like these cops are gonna find them, but like they're not there. And then the uh, the guy whose brain was eaten, the store owner, pops up, and then you got it. You see these people who get eaten come back to life, which is more continuity than the last two had with that. And you see he's not perfect like Trash, or some other ones in the other movies where they just come back perfect. No, he's missing a top part of his head, and sometimes he looks like an animatronic, and not a very good one. Screaming Mad George did not do the effects in it. It's actually Christopher Nelson who did effects on the recent Halloween movies, the David Gordon Green movies. Was one of the special effects artists. But this is 1993 special effects, and they're okay, but they're better than the second ones, for sure. There's no Tar Man at all in this, despite the fact that several canisters are opened and corpses come out, but they don't tarify. That's even a word. But, yeah. So, they're basically running from his dad and the cops and everything. Oh, I forgot to close the Blu-ray player. Oops. That's what that sound was. It closed. I want to get this done so I can do the fourth one, because that one's on Tubi, so I can watch that when I'm at work and stuff, and then do the fifth one when I get back, and I'll be done with these. I just gotta do the other 5 movies that I gotta do, which, so, well, I'm trying to get the March of the Living Dead stuff done this week, so that next week, when I'm on my vacation for my birthday, I can just watch movies and not record reviews. Although I may do a top 10 best horror movie endings, because I did the first one. Although, if that's the case, it probably ought to be up by now. So, anyway, so they're on the run. And eventually, she realizes, I'm not human, this isn't right. And she jumps off the bridge into the river. And he jumps in after her, or he climbs down and jumps in after her. And they meet Riverman, the Riverman. Just his fucking name, I don't know why. And he's like, oh, she dead. No one survives that drop. And he's like, you don't understand. She's different. And then she like pops up awake or something. And then the gang finds them. And she's like stabbing herself with stuff at this point just to take away the hunger, which doesn't make any fucking sense. No idea. What? Anyway. So, they end up in, I don't know, some building or something. And Mogo was bitten by her at by Julie at the convenience store. So he's like turning. And so when they get there, the Mexican gang has Riverman and Kurt just cornered. And then Julie shows up, and like I said, she's got stuff spiked all over her. Basically, it's she's got spikes all over her. Nipples in her piercings. Piercings in her nipples, where those come from. I even Googled the picture earlier, where the tits out. She didn't, did she have nipple rings? She didn't have nipple rings. She somehow found them, and I gotta stop doing this because touching them is, sorry. But she's got them now, somehow. I don't know. But yay to nudity again in this, but she's a gorgeous woman, by the way. I also have to mention that there's this military woman named Sinclair, played by Sarah Douglas, who was Ursa in the first 2 Superman movies back in the day. So, yes. And She basically come in to take over the spot that Kurt's dad had. So, but the guy who's always saying essay after every sentence goes out to deal with her, and he is killed. His brain's eaten, and he comes back as this detached zombie thing later. A minute. Excuse me a minute. Sorry about that. Had an itch that wouldn't be appropriate to scratch on camera. So, anyway, she kills them, and then Riverman gets turned. Whether Mogo bites him, I think, or something. I kind of missed that part. And the military shows up, captures all of them, and basically says it's over, it's done, we're done. But Kurt realizes very quickly that they're going to weaponize these zombies, including Julie, and freaks the fuck out. And so he releases all the zombies, and he causes which leads Sinclair to go after them, and because she is weaponizing Rivermen at the time, and so canisters or barrels of trioxin are knocked over, and the zombies come out not tarized, they're not tarmen like the first two. Wow, I don't know. And so he tries to get Julie out of there, but they have those doors that are big, strong metal bars, so they can't open it. But Riverman breaks through, and Kurt is able to get through to Riverman with the coin that he gave him, or whatever that is, and say, "It's me, it's Kurt. I need your help. Can you open the door?" So he opens the door, but the Riverman is killed, sort of, by Sinclair, but then she's killed by a bunch of zombies. And then they realize, Kurt's dad's like, "Come on, we gotta go, get out of here," but he won't leave, and he's been bit. Kurt's been bit. So they decide to die together by going into the furnace and dying of immolation. End of the movie. A love story for the ages. Yeah, the ending is kind of just unexpected, no significant. Well, now that's an ending now, isn't it? But yeah, I enjoyed this. I'll say it's pretty good. I think it's better than the second one, but not as good as the first. But I did enjoy this. And part of it is because it's Brian Usna. He knows how to do certain things. This is way more serious than the first two. I think it works for this kind of story. It's a love story. It works. So I totally get why some people would say this is the best. For me, the first one will probably always be the best. I don't think the other two are going to do anything, especially since I know they were originally aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. Yay for that CGI. I don't think they were Sci-Fi originals. I think they just aired them on there initially. So there's that. It's not gonna be Asylum type CGI. I hope not. But yes. So what are your thoughts on Return of the Living Dead 3? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.